Hey everybody, and welcome to a special episode. Today we are talking about the Netflix special, the making of We Are the World, the greatest moment in pop history, and what a moment it was. And it was wonderful. I saw it over the weekend, and so I really wanted to talk about it because some of my favorite stars are in this documentary, and it was really so insightful. You learn so much about this song, which I still adore today. It still brings the same emotion. It's so beautifully written, so beautifully sung. And the documentary is, of course, a huge part of it is Lionel Ritchie talking about it because he wrote the song with Michael Jackson. Now, the first thing is that the Bob Geldof had done Do They Know It's Christmas, which was a choral song done by the English stars, and Harry Belafonte being very concerned about this famine in Ethiopia where people were really starving and dying by thousands every single day, said that something must be done by the US. And so they called Lionel Ritchie, and he immediately said, yes, I'm here. And the first thing was, who's going to write this song? And so they thought about Stevie Wonder. And as Lionel Ritchie says, you call Stevie Wonder and you just waiting for him to call back. So in the meantime, he and Michael Jackson got together and they started making the magic that is We Are the World. Now, Lionel, who Michael Jackson called Lionel, and I think that's so cute because the way Lionel talks about this moment, you can tell he's so fond of these memories and of these moments, and he also realizes that he was in the presence of another huge musician. I said musician, not magician. He explains that Michael, not playing any instruments, hums every single part of the song and every single instrument, and then he just layers on tapes and tapes and tapes and tapes, and you just hear the and you can hear the whole orchestration all done humming. And he thought that it was just absolutely brilliant. Now you can imagine that this happening and being said by someone like Lionel Ritchie. Now, Lionel said that he worked at Michael Jackson's home, which was at the time, the Jackson estate. He still lived with his parents. And so he tells two of the cutest little anecdotes. One, which was that he was hearing barking and someone saying, shut up, and the barking. And so Michael said, don't worry, it's just a minor bird that's having an argument with the dog, because the bird can speak, but the dog can only bark. So you could just imagine the kind of, kookiness and just playfulness that Michael was in. And then at another time, a book started falling off the bookshelf, and Lionel heard this sound, and he turned around and he saw the biggest snake, and Michael said, oh my God, we lost the snake, and he just came back because he heard the song. So that means that we're doing good music. So you could imagine, and Lionel said, I'm out of here, because he was terrified of that snake. So this is all the preparation. Now, the reason that Lionel Ritchie decided to tape it on this one night, because the whole recording session was done in one single night, it's because it was the American Music Awards, which was a huge deal at the time. And so he knew that all the biggest stars would be in Los Angeles. So this is actually recorded after the American Music Awards, which Lionel Ritchie was hosting, with all these incredible jackets that I'm so jealous of, because he had some gorgeous beaded jackets. I mean, some of them were the same price as the Diana Ross gowns there. This is serious beadwork, let me tell you. But they all arrived at very late at night, and they recorded in a period of about 8 hours. Now among the stars that were there, now you had Willie Nelson, Dionne Warwick, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, the Pointer Sisters, Bette Midler, Sheila E., Hall & Oates, Kim Carnes, Cyndi Lauper, Huey Lewis. Now all of these stars, 47 stars, Harry Belafonte, of course it was his idea at the beginning, and all that conducted by Mr. Quincy Jones. Now Quincy Jones, you hear him at a certain time getting mad and telling them, "You all be quiet," and he's talking to the biggest names. I mean, these stars are, huge stars. And also what's incredible is that although the song was written, they had some tweaks and changes, and one of the biggest changes was done by Mr. Smokey Robinson, who was also part of the 47 artists, and he said only one person could talk Michael Jackson into changing his lyrics. It was me, because I've known Michael Jackson since he was a little boy. I used to play ball with him, so between recording sessions, so I was able to tell him, look, this doesn't work. And what they changed is, so that's what we're giving. So, and Smokey Robinson said, that's what we're giving. What are we giving? So he said, change this to, so let's start giving. And they immediately agreed. Another thing was that it's true, we make a better day, and Lionel Ritchie and most of the people decided on, it's true, we make a brighter day. So this is pretty exciting, because these things, they only have a couple of hours to do it, and whatever is recorded, that's what it's going to be. And so I thought that was pretty good. Lionel Ritchie said, in a room like that with 47 stars, they did put a sign outside, check your egos right here. He said the one phrase you never say is, I'm not sure about that, what do you think? Because he said then you would have had 47 different versions of We Are the World. And they talk about, in a very coy way, of the troublemakers that were in the audience, that were in this group. And it's Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, and it's just so funny because that they couldn't care about anything, not press, not reputation, not nothing. They are legends. They are the world. They really are. And so Stevie Wonder begins to say, well, wait a minute, I think we should sing a part of the chorus in Swahili, and he starts to teach them in Swahili, we are the world. And so it's really hard to say. You see it in the documentary, it's pretty difficult. And oh, did I tell you there's a spoiler? Spoiler alert, the whole thing. And so it's pretty difficult. And then there's a singer, I don't know his name, I never heard of him. He just leaves and walks out and he says, that's it, Swahili, I'm leaving. And then finally, there's a voice in the background, and I think it's James Ingram, and he says, they don't speak Swahili in Ethiopia. So he's like, well, we got to say something. And so finally, Michael Jackson brings this other kind of music, which is just, sha-na-na, sha-na-na, gay, just words, but that don't mean anything, and everybody agrees, and it's in the background, and they calm down. And then, everybody is tired and like, come on, let's do this. And it's pretty funny because, only Stevie Wonder could perturb, 46 other artists and bring them to, being very, very exhausted. And you see Tina Turner, and she is tired. Now, there was a brilliant arranger who was brought in to decide who was going to sing what, and he also was putting certain voices together. And it's just so interesting because like Lionel Richie says, there could have been 100 different versions of this, but once you hear it, you think that's it. And a very funny part is when you hear Miss Dion, Dion, who says, "They put me together with Willie Nelson, okay." And she doesn't say anything because she's the pro that she is, but she's not too sure about that. And they, for some reason, think that Willie and Dion can sing together. But when you hear that part, to me, it's when the song really just grabs you. When she starts with, send them your heart, and yet really, and Willie Nelson sings and it's very, very low, and she just kind of swerves around him, and it's just gorgeous. And it's another part of the magic of this. And another time is when they explain that it was difficult for Bob Dylan to sing because he's not a singer, he's a poet, but he doesn't have a voice. So when Quincy Jones is making everybody sing together, he says, if you can't sing too high, just don't sing. No one's going to notice. It's 40 people singing. And you see Bob Dylan very, very uncomfortable. And as well as Bette Midler, she doesn't seem too happy to be there. However, she did a stand-up comedy show called Mud Will Be Flung Tonight, and in it she says, "I stood next to LaToya. She wore a headband. I felt naked." But that's the only thing I take out of that. She really could have missed being there altogether. Then Stevie Wonder, they said that he is the most incredible imitator. He can imitate anybody's voice. And so he gets onto the piano and he does Bob Dylan's solo part. And he says to him, just, like this. And it's just so great that Bob Dylan finds, his voice and finds the strength to sing along with all these incredible singers, because he's singing with Stevie Wonder and with Bruce Springsteen. And it's gorgeous. It's just absolutely beautiful. Now on to the 3 incredible things that Diana Ross did, which makes her the star that she is. Now, when I was watching it with my partner, he was saying, she seems so humble. She's, every single shot you see of her, she's smiling and she's quiet and she's looking and she's listening and she's learning. Now, the first thing is that she was wearing the sweatshirt. Now, the sweatshirts were not in any sense made for the stars. They were for the crew and for the people who were working on this, but they were also being sold. And so she arrived and she said, "I want to buy one of those sweatshirts." And so she put it on, and then many other artists said, "Oh, I want one too." And then she bought an entire box that had 2 dozens, and she paid them very, very generously, and she had them put it in her car, and she said, "I want my kids to wear that." So, and then she sent them to the schools of her children, and so a lot of the kids were able to have a sweatshirt given by Diana Ross. Now, the second thing is that, and it's explained in the documentary, is that when Diana Ross, there was a break, and so Diana Ross went over to Daryl Hall and she said to him, "I'm your biggest fan. Could you please sign my sheet music?" And once she did that, everybody was like, "Oh," it kind of broke the ice, and they all went around asking for signatures, which they didn't dare before, because some of these stars were so huge, but they were also big stars. So normally you don't do that. But Diana Ross is first and foremost an incredible human being. And when she speaks, ever since she's been in the limelight, she always has this way of holding herself, this way of explaining things, of saying what she feels about the world, about nature. And that's another sign of her. She's a huge star, but she is able to admire the others. She's able to learn. How she says, to learn something new every day is the biggest treasure in life. And then the third thing is that once the chorus was done, all the people who were not soloists were able to leave. And so that started, the solo started around 4 o'clock in the morning. And Diana Ross has this beautiful, beautiful solo. She opens the song, with "There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives." And then she sings in duet with Michael Jackson. Now, after that, all of the soloists did their part, and then there's that last part where it's Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, and Bob Dylan singing together. And they say Diana Ross stayed until everything was over, until 8 o'clock in the morning, and then she hugged Quincy Jones and Lionel Ritchie and cried and said, "I don't want this to end." So I think it's so beautiful. And this is how they end this documentary, which I've spoiled for you, but that's what I do. I spoil. So just watch it before this. All this to say that it's just one incredible, incredible moment in music history. And it's wonderful to hear, especially Lionel Ritchie, who I saw one day in the street in Paris, and everybody was running after him, but he gave us a big, big wave and a huge smile, and he seems like a very, very charming person. And here he's just absolutely extraordinary, because even though he is the leader of the pack, he's very, very humble. And then all of these incredible things came from that song. He wrote more for Diana Ross, and then Diana Ross did "Swept Away," and Michael Jackson went on to become a universal star, and Tina Turner was, in her return. The Pointer Sisters were very big. I mean, all of these stars that we love and adore, I mean, especially me. So I hope to see you very, very soon. We're continuing with Miss Stephanie Mills and her Sweet Sensations. See you on Saturday. Bye-bye.